Can't hear, maybe just raise your hand and there'll be a signal to them to speak up. Gail, if you'll come at this time.
If anybody would like to move your seat, now would probably be the time as well. If you want to move any closer, take your time. Jennifer, did you take my pen?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, we'll begin with Mr. Humphreys. We'll have 30-second introductions and then proceed down the line to each candidate, but we'll start here with Mr. Humphreys.
Excuse my voice, I'm getting a sore throat, but my name is David Humphreys. I'm running for Ward 6. Originally from Gastonia, graduated from Hunter Huss. Retired from the Air Force. Right now I'm an aircraft maintenance inspector where I work down at Rock Hill. And I'm running because I serve my country, and why can't I serve my city? So I appreciate your support and hope you will tolerate my answers.
Good evening. My name is Porter McAteer. First, I want to thank the Tea Party and its board and all of y'all for putting on this forum. Appreciate you doing that, even though I hate forums. But I am glad to come here among good people that I know that really care about the community. I want to thank all the citizens that are here, too, coming out. I enjoy serving on the city council. Would like to go back, and I might mention this, that they're 4-year terms now, and 3 of us have volunteered to run for a 2-year term, and the other 4 are running for 4 years. So what happens is you get on, with that, you get on staggered basis, so you always have 2 people on board with experience. And it wouldn't bother me to go back to just 2-year terms. It wouldn't bother, that would be probably better. But anyway, we're going to get on staggered terms, always have experienced people on board. But I appreciate everybody coming out and listening to all of us. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Kellogg, and I am running for City Council in Ward number 1. I'm originally from upstate New York in a small town called Lowville, where we had more dairy cattle than people. And I don't think it's changed much since I left. Moved down here in a small car, whatever could fit in that car, had a couple bucks in my pocket, a pack of cigarettes at the time I smoked. That's all I came down to North Carolina with, that and a dream to have a better life. I'm glad to say that I love it here. Been down here for, I think, 11, 12 years. I'm involved in the community, currently the chair of the Gaston County Democratic Party. Please don't hold that against me. I'm looking forward to talking with you, getting to know some of you a little bit better. And if you'd like more information, please go to robertkellogg.com. Running on a platform that is business friendly, and appreciate it very much. Thank you.
My name is Dale Burkett. I had the opportunity in the past to run and serve for 6 years on the city council. During that time, we did a few different things, whatever. But some of the things I'm most proud of is I had a mother that's absolutely wonderful. She'd be 100 years old now. She come to town with two young gentlemen. I was able to join the fire department, served 35 years in the fire department, and then sorry, holding up something over there. But 35 years there. The last 25 years, I was able not to miss a day of front of the department. I was on the council. I was at every meeting. And 30 seconds is not much. Thank you.
Good evening, friend. My name is John Grant. I'm running for the Ward 3 seat. I'm a business owner here in Gastonia. I'm not a politician. I've got some new ideas that I'd like to see come into Gastonia. One of them is that we need to get good quality public safety, our police and fire department, good quality infrastructure, keep our tax base down where it's attractive to other people that want to relocate their businesses here or move here. We need to get with the education people and try to work on maybe getting a vocational high school downtown. And I'd like to see the railroad tracks in the middle of town pulled up and filled in with dirt, put Gastonia back together. And I know people have laughed about that, but they have also laughed at the Wright brothers and the guys that did face it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Gallagher. I'm the current city councilman for Ward 3, and I'm seeking re-election. I live over in Sherwood area. My wife, Charmaine, who's put up with me for the past 24 years over there. Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. I'm so blessed to have her support. And without it, I don't know what I'd really do. I have two children, Jordan and Caroline. Jordan is going to be an engineer. He's over at UNC Charlotte. Caroline's a licensed attorney up in Virginia, and you can tell which one likes math. We're blessed to raise our family in this community. I work at Wells Fargo in 95. I volunteer for the Shield Museum, Vision Builders, and Lease the Bees. And I ask you for your vote and your support this coming November 3rd. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Billy Phillips, and I'm running for Ward number 1. I am just recently retired from the Gastonia Fire Department. Before that, I did a little short stint with the military. Was raised up in Gastonia, loved this place. I can remember as a kid walking downtown to go to the Webb Theater and Center Theater and watch movies. And can still remember even going to the Firestone Mill swimming pool. You know, these was good days. And the thing about it is, although this is a great city, we still have some problems. And I think some of the problems is people just don't use common sense nowadays when dealing with it. That was mighty fast, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Ware. I'm running for City Council on Ward number 2. I'm a Gastonia native, born and raised here, lived here my whole life, with the exception of when I was at the University of Alabama. It's my second time running, and I just think it's time for some new leadership in Ward 2.
My name is Dick Akers. I'm an eye doctor here. I see some of my old patients here tonight. I've been here over 40 years, and Gastonia has been really good to me during those 40 years, and it's time for me to give back a little more. So I feel like we really need to get Gastonia going again. My motto in this campaign is, let's grow Gastonia.
Hello, tonight I'm glad to see everyone out tonight. My name is Paulette Jackson-Bryce, and I am running for the mayor's seat. And I believe that we need fresh leadership. And I would like a chance to be the one to communicate with the people and draw the lines together for the people. And I am an animal care specialist. I retired from the public service company under the leadership of Mr. Charles Ziegler Sr. And I just thank God for this opportunity to serve the people, because I really listening to the people.
Good evening. I'm Todd Pearsall. I'm the current council member in Ward 4. I am running for re-election. I want to thank the Tea Party for having us tonight. I think the forums are the best way for us to get our message out to the people. Welcome any questions that you may have about my 4 years that I'm finishing up, or the next 4 years that I hope to serve. So any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you again for having us.
Good evening. I'm John Howard. I'm going to take part of my time just a moment to remind everyone that this is October is Breast Awareness Cancer Month. And I'm very proud to say that my hero for 32 years, my wife, received her 4.5-year cancer-free report today. I'm just very, very thankful to the good Lord for that. There's plenty of time to ask us questions. We'll be answering a lot of your questions, and I'll give up the rest of my time.
Thank you, each one of you. Some of the questions I'll be asking are going to be multifaceted, multi-part questions, so if you have a pen and paper, that would be great. I will repeat the questions if you would like me to, but unfortunately that would take some of your time. So I would just recommend that you take some notes while I'm asking the questions so you don't lose your time. We're going to begin over here on my left with Mr. Humphreys. We'll proceed down the line, and I will then stagger each first question as it goes after that. So I'm going to try to say them very slowly so that it's not garbled. In the recent newspaper article, most of you said that one of your priorities for Gastonia was growth. Please describe specifically what that growth looks like to you, addressing both the residential and commercial aspect of your vision. Is there a point where there can be too much growth? We'll begin with Mr. Humphreys.
to the last part of that, yes, there can be too much if the infrastructure is not ready for it. It can happen really fast. What I would like to see is if you put Gastonia on a scale about Broad Street being in the middle, it leans way heavy on the east side. We're way out of balance. We got to balance the city back out. There's a lot of available buildings, property, land, and from 321 West all throughout the area that is prime for development. But, and for the life of me, I don't know why anybody hasn't snatched it up yet. As soon as we start getting some businesses in, I'm hoping it's going to be like a domino effect. We're going to get a really good-sized business in. We're going to get another one in. We're going to get another one in. And as slowly it's going to build up that side of town again.
Mr. McAfee?
Yes, we do have a good infrastructure. We're expanding our water plant now. About 25% of the water plant is not functional at this time. So we're expanding our water plant over on Long Avenue. It's going to cost about $45 to $50 million. And we got a $30 million loan on that we're going to have at 0% interest. So that's really good. So we have ample water and sewer that we can provide to all industries. There's a new industry going into Gastonia Technology Park. We're going to have a groundbreaking, not a groundbreaking, but a ribbon cutting next week. So we've got that. We're always working with the Economic Development Commission to provide incentives that they ask us for, because you can't get new industry if you don't, sweeten the pot for them. And we need to keep the taxes low, and which we're doing. The water and sewer rates have been steady. The electric rates have been steady. They've in the electricities, as Mr. Gallagher knows, they've got a new refinancing, so we're going to be able to keep our electric rates low for many years to come for the citizens and the industry. So, and we're always out trying to find helping the economic development.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping that all of you can see the gentleman down there that are holding up the colored
there he
signs. Yeah. Can you see him too, Mr. Humphreys?
I see him now.
Okay.
I didn't know he
I
was
should
doing
have
that.
mentioned where they were located. I'm terribly sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. Mr. Kellogg?
Yes, thank you very much. There definitely needs to be a balance between residential and commercial. There is no doubt about it that here in Gastonia, we absolutely positively need to roll out the red carpet for business opportunity. For too long, we've been the butt of jokes. We've been the redheaded stepchild that nobody wanted to come near. We need to change our image. Part of that involves creating a task force that is pretty similar to what's happening on the county level with businessmen, some politicians, although I hate to say that because politicians usually know the least about these things, maybe our community leaders, and develop a vision and a plan to go forward with our city. If you don't have a plan, you really have nowhere to go. It's like a roadmap. So the first thing that we do when we get into our car usually is to turn on our GPS if we're going somewhere that we're not familiar with. That's what we need to do on the city level. Another thing that we need to do is come up with a small business ombudsman program. We need a liaison to act as the ombudsman between our small business community and City Hall. Thank you very much.
The current council, they'll say they want to keep taxes low. But actually, as soon as they went in office, a couple of different things happened, but they actually raised taxes. So, it went from 52 cents to 53 cents. So it was actually a tax increase. So, and now we're at, if I'm understanding right, like 30%, 36% fund balance. But if you got 36% fund balance and you only have to have like 8, somewhere in there the money's, it could easily be put back to the community or spent. And then one thing I think, as government, wherever it is, and especially here because I've been on both sides of it in the council, whatever, is just get out of the way. We can talk about bringing someone in from outside or spending money, whatever, but if we could just get government to spend as little time as it can creating regulations, and then in turn hiring people to enforce regulations, whether it's code enforcement or a building or anything else, just stay out of the way, and then try to stay consistent. Thank you.
Mr. Grant?
Addressing residential growth, we need to look at some of the areas that we could put subdivisions. One of the things I think is hindering that was, came up several months ago about a parks and recreation fee on all the new lots that were going in, up to the tune of about $400. And it said that would only be $1.11 amortized over 30 years. Well, I beg to differ on those figures because I ran the numbers, and $400 amortized at 4.25% over 30 years comes back at 77% increase. Now, how would that affect people that are disabled, empty nesters, or people that don't have children that are trying to downsize? You're going to put them with a fee, or which is basically a tax that they're going to have to pay. So they're going to want to move here. As far as commercial growth, there are areas to the northwest of the city and the west side of the city. You can't have too much growth on the east end. That's my time's up.
Thank you. Mr. Ballinger?
We all know that textile mills have left town. And when they left town, the tax burden shifted from them to the residents here in Gastonia. I want to encourage businesses to come here because we all know that costs are continuing to rise. And I don't want to see our taxes rise along with it. And the way to do that is encourage businesses to come here. When businesses come here, they'll bring jobs. And when jobs happen, people will buy things and they'll start living and moving into houses and all. And it's just a domino effect to have all boats rise at once. The other thing is, the city council recently has gotten up with a company called Retail Strategies, and they've been used throughout Metro City's grid, and they helped out Lexington, and this will help out the west side. What they did at Lexington is they got 2 new grocery stores, 4 new restaurants, $2 stores, close to 400 new jobs in 2 years' time. So this group is coming in called Retail Strategies, and they're going to be able to help us in this town. So we're going to do both economics with businesses and also retail. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
To be honest with you, I totally agree with Mr. Humphreys up here as far as the development of the east side. Problem is when companies and businesses come in, that's where they want to go, east side. Well, right now, the east side can't take anymore. I mean, you know, they're just everywhere, and we're killing our residents down there because I actually live in Gardner Park, and we are having to take the burden of all that water that's basically taking our yards away from us. You know, it's eroding our creeks back behind my house also. And the way I look at that is, you know, if they want to come to here so bad, tell them, say, hey, that's fine. We'd love to have you, but give them some type of incentive. Go to the west side. You know, there's plenty of land back there. And, you know, give them some type of incentive. Say, hey, if you want to come here, we're more welcome to have you, you know.
Thank you. Mr. Ware?
Thank you. What does growth look like with me on the city council? Is basically, it would be a proportional growth to where you have, in my ward, in Franklin Square, we are over proportionate compared to the west side. And we have to find some way to balance that out. And with Ager Center where we're at now, we have plenty of retail space that can be moved in instead of taking the entire right side of 74 and protruding into Gardner Park, which has been this current council's prerogative, I guess you could say. And as far as residential, we have to take care of our neighborhood roads, which are in such disarray. And with that.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Akers?
To me, the problem starts with growth down at City Hall, where we have a complacent, entrenched bureaucracy that's been there for a long time. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a man a couple of days ago. He and his brother own a building just across the street and down the way here. They wanted to put a finance company into this building. that they own, they were told that they couldn't do it because of zoning. They said, but next door, there's a tattoo parlor. And they said, tattoo parlors are fine. So they think they put in a tattoo parlor. I think it's not fair. I think we really need to look for some new leadership on the council, and I think we need to clean house at City Hall.
Thank you. Ms. Rice?
Yes, I am very concerned and interested on the development of West Gastonia, because West Gastonia is where I live. That's the area that I live, and I have to live there and have access to the west side of Gastonia every day of my life. So I see there is nothing really in that area, and everything that seems to be in that area seems to belong to Kings Mountain. But I know that they have a next Gastonia to some of those parts of the area that looks like it is Kings Mountain. But we need, in that area, we need some banks, we need a post office in that area, we need some doctor's offices in those areas. We need something that the people can, you know, really thrive from, like in an everyday life, you know. So we need to try to develop the west end of Gastonia, not only thinking about the residential, because there's a lot of empty houses over in that area. It could be repaired, and I'm glad that Habitat for Humanity has taken on some of these houses, but we do need development in West Gastonia.
Thank you. Mr. Pearsall?
Thank you. Just to answer the question really briefly, I do think you can have too much growth, and I think you have to monitor that. But I'm glad to hear all of these ideas, and it's kind of like a cheerleading section down here, because I heard about development, and we're working very hard on development. I personally met with the executives of Quick Trip. They had issues. We got 3 of those put in. We got a dollar store, a Waffle House. We may say, well, those are cheap little stores. It's more development than we've had in 20 years, and that did not come without a lot of work, a lot of effort. Ms. Craig worked with me a lot getting this stuff to the West District. I heard the Parks and Recreation fee. I appointed the task force that brought that information to the council, and we actually voted to rescind that fee. It's no longer in place. They don't pay it. As such, we've seen new home construction jump by about 15%. So all great ideas, but a lot of them are already in place, and I am very proud to say that I've been a part of that and will continue to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Halloran?
Thank you. If you want growth, you plan for growth. Not unlike in the business sector. You plan your work and you work your plan. If you don't, you're bound for failure. So that's the simple formula. We have had opportunities in this community that there's an image effort put forth at this point. If we want to improve our image, you start with the foundation, resurfacing our roads and streets, which are in horrible condition. You quit voting down very, very first-class shopping environments, i.e. the Harris Teeter situation, and then accepting something like this, right across the street. You've got to have vision. You have to have business experience. You have to have involvement. Be involved. Then you know what's going on. Then you can complete your plan.
Thank you. The next question basically goes in a similar direction, but what we're asking for are, what specific ideas do you have to create more jobs in our city and grow our economy? We'll begin with Mr. McAteer.
Well, first we need to keep the taxes low, and I don't think our image is all that bad. Some people say we got a terrible image and people think we stink. I don't think that, and I'm proud of Gastonia and Gaston County, and I think we need to keep our water and sewer rates, tax rates lower, and do everything we can to recruit industry like that. And what else was it? I didn't write the question down.
The question was, what specific ideas do you have to create more jobs in our city and grow our economy?
Yeah, well, advertise. And the city just recently put some money in a group to try to increase the image of Gastonia and have an industry.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Mr. Kellogg?
I think most of us understand that what grows a city is small business. Obviously, we want huge corporations like Freightliner to come into Gaston. We also need to focus on infrastructure, make sure that our roads are appropriate, make sure our police and public safety is where it should be, because honestly, nobody is going to relocate to a city where you have to navigate potholes and where the city police are not at the place that they should be. Thank you.
Mr. Burkett?
Well, it's been said many times, but it still goes back, taxes, regulations, rates. You increasing your electric rate, you increasing your rain runoff tax, and just about anything you can. Because one thing we have in Gaston, of course, there's ways that they negotiate their electricities, is our electric rate is 17% higher than Duke Power. So trying to bring things back in line, but they give benefits to companies that come in so they can waive some of that. But I would always stick to trying to get at least the council that's there to stay together long enough, whoever they are, as long as they're doing a decent job that y'all think, and then allow them to work together to accomplish something. Because 2 and 3 people cannot do anything. But regulations and consistency.
Thank you. Mr. Grant?
One of the things I'd like to see is to tell people how they can instead of why they can't. I went to a seminar that said Gaston County typically has a closed for business sign hanging up every time somebody wants to come here. I get a letter from the governor's office every morning telling me what he's going to do, where he's going, and what he's making announcements for. And I see all these jobs, 450 jobs to Moore County, 250 jobs to Lee County, all these things going around us. They're going to Cleveland County, they're going to Lincoln County. Why aren't they coming here? We need to look at what these other counties are doing to bring these jobs here. They need to be high-paying jobs because you can't buy houses and cars on minimum wage. They need to be businesses that complement what we have here and not necessarily something that's in competition with it, because then it will start to expand. I personally wanted to build a $750,000 office building in West Gastonia. When I went to City Hall and asked about what I had to do, they started telling me all the things that had to be done, and this and that. And I told them, you know what, forget it. It's not worth going through all the hassle, because we need to tell people how they can do it and not why they can't.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
Yes. Don is right. He had a difficult time with the city at one time. But we brought a gentleman in called Brian Pruitt. And Brian Pruitt has come from Shelby and he's entered in a lot of new ideas in order to get the building permits online. So if someone needs a building permit, they can go on there and get it done. We have streamlined a lot more than what's happened in the past. The other thing is, I keep hearing, the other council had dropped taxes. Well, on April 5th, 2011, one of the guys who's running for the seat, who used to be the former person here, made the motion to start the garbage fee. Matter of fact, he wanted it to be $12. And that's taking money out of our pockets. That's not helping us as a citizen. I just want you to see it. If you care to see it, it's right here. The other thing is we do have roads. We've cobbled together enough money to do 19 roads within the city of Gastonia. The largest one was Laurel Lane. And we're doing more, and we just weren't able to do a lot more this year. So if you want to see if your street's on there, you're welcome to.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Well, first of all, I wish you quit standing up because it makes me look bad if I don't. No, sorry. Well, no, I talk with my hands in it. There's actually a lot of different answers to this, but I'm going to hit on one, and that is public safety. And the problem I have with that is we're not taking care of our employees. We are losing good firefighters, good police officers, and good electricians, on a yearly basis. The problem is, of course, pay has a lot to do with it also. But the problem is, who's suffering for it is our citizens, because what we have to give up, just like the police department, they had to give up a task group that actually went out into the community working. Well, that was the task group that got it. Oh, y'all fast.
Mr. Ware.
Thank you. Three numbers I want you to remember: 46, 47, and 53. 46 is the current property tax rate in Charlotte. 47 is the property tax rate in Belmont. And 53 is the property tax rate in Gaston. That's the problem. If we want more jobs here, we have to be able to have people to live here. So we have to become more competitive with our surrounding communities and be more competitive with Belmont, who is currently thriving in economic growth. And that's how we grow our economy.
Thank you. If you're done. Dr. Akers.
We need to be friendly to business. We need to be friendly to small and big business. We need to have good quality business. One little sideline, a few years ago, we owned a little house beside our medical office, and we decided we would try to open that up for the girls who work for us to leave their children there during the day, open a little daycare center. And my wife, who happens to be here tonight, started to try to get that organized, dealing with the city. We didn't even come close to that. We were told we could pay $1,500 or so and hire a consultant to maybe get us through the city to do that. There's something called the Unified Development Ordinance. That comes out of Chapel Hill. Gastonia has taken that hook, line, and sinker, from what I've been told, and we need to start looking at getting rid of that. We can talk about that more later, but the Unified Development Ordinance is what we really need to modify for this town.
Yes, I think we need to incorporate entrepreneurship. We should have a strong vision for entrepreneurship. Small business ethics should be taught to people to understand that it's not as hard as people make it seem to start small businesses. I'm a small business owner, and I started a business from scratch in 1985. So it's not hard. It just all depends on if the people have the finances and the ability to do it. And it's another thing too is bringing in mass industrial companies and to encourage tourism here in Gaston. There's really nowhere here to invite somebody to come here in the city, and this is what we need. We need to promote more tourism. Get those together.
Thank you. Mr. Pearsall?
Thank you. I can't disagree with a lot that's been said here, and I just want to take a minute to recognize somebody in the room. I mentioned a minute ago the task force that I appointed, and I'm very proud to say that Mr. Jim Stewart serves on that task force, and I'm taking credit for appointing it, but they do all of the work, and they've been tackling issues like the UDO, like Dr. Akers said. They are problems. There are obstacles, but these obstacles have been put up over years and years and years. It's one of the first things I started to tackle when I got elected, and we're making good progress. Is it all perfect? No, but we're still working on it, and that's why I want another 4 years to keep working on it. A couple other things I want to touch on real quick is everybody keeps mentioning image, and it was said that we put a lot of money into this image campaign for the county, but it's not just for the county, it's for the city too, and I actually represent the city on the image campaign. We've already had 3 meetings. We're selecting a firm now, so that's going to get better. And Daniel, I just wanted to correct your figure. The 53 cents is the county tax with the city included. That's not just the city. And Gaston County has the highest tax value of any county in our surrounding area. It's not the city, it's the county.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
Thank you. Growth by image. Well, do we need more growth just to get jobs? Do we need people here to fill jobs? What jobs? We have people here that don't have jobs. We need businesses brought here. How do we bring businesses here? You get involved. There is not a businessman in this room that isn't involved in some way in his industry, knowing what is going on in his industry. If you don't stay in touch, we have a committee called the Intergovernmental Relations and Economic Development. My opponent is chairman of that, and they've never had a meeting in 4 years. You need to be involved. You have to be involved with our county commissioners, the Economic Development Commission, our state representatives, and our congressmen. Because someone walks into his office and says, we're looking to have a business brought into a community of 73,000 people. You got one? And if we're not sitting at the table that day when that news comes down, we miss it. And we've missed too many of them so far. We own Paysora Mountain. We have the property. We can have a road built, and we can develop that and create businesses. And I'll tell you what kind later on.
Thank you. We're going to continue with the development of our city with the next question, which will start with you, Mr. Kellogg. City councils have tried many different projects to revitalize downtown Gastonia going back to the 1970s without much success. What new ideas do you have to help develop and revitalize downtown, and at what cost to the taxpayers?
I think the first thing we need to do is really get downtown involved in the whole process. Part of that is, again, going back to the creation of an ombudsman, somebody who can actually act as a liaison between new business owners or people that want to open business and City Hall to answer the questions that they can't seem to get answered, to tackle those issues with red tape. It's not City Hall's fault. I mean, somebody answering the phone, they must get 100 calls a day. But what they need is somebody to actually tackle those issues and to be a representative for those people. If we're talking about downtown, we also need to have a vision and a plan for downtown. I think in the past, there's been too much of a idea that you throw something against the wall, and if it sticks, hooray. If it doesn't, we'll try something else. We need to go about growth in a smart way. We need to look at growth in a way that encompasses all of downtown and has an outward growth for it to encompass parts of West Gastonia and other parts of Gastonia that are not necessarily growing at the rate that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burkett?
Part of the center city tax district. And that's where the money is collected from those people who they chose to enter that, some years in the past. But in utilizing that money for downtown, and then it's almost like the city has the railroad tracks on one side and 2974 on the other side of the city, in a small city. I don't have the answers for it. But what I'll say is it needs to venture. It needs to go on the other side of the tracks, include, and then come on the other side of 74, include things the best it can. But it seems like everything that I keep saying tonight, which I totally believe, is it's just letting the city stay out of other people's business. They put some money here and some money there. But less regulations and let the people do their business.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
My vision for downtown, as I said earlier, would be to start with getting the talks going to remove the railroad tracks. There's some of you in here that remember when they started talking about that back about 1965. I was a kid and I thought, well, I don't know that I'll ever see that happen. But you don't do something to bring both sides of town back together. Because I remember what Gastonia was back then. It was a thriving place. And then there was a gentleman by the name of Charlie Thunderberg who used to write about the Great Ditch and what it was going to do to the city. And Charlie has passed on, but he would be appalled to see what downtown is now. I'd like to see a light rail link come in there. I would like to see the vocational school go down there, because once you start creating repetitive foot traffic in downtown, then the kids would go to the ice cream shop. If you did like a small museum similar to a Discovery place where people would bring the children down on the weekends and stuff, then you start getting this repetitive foot traffic over and over. You could also take and block off Main Street from South Street down to Martin Luther King Jr. Way and make that a plaza.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
First off, I want to say that I'm the only one on City Council that voted against giving $85,000 to a developer to develop the Lawyers Building into a hotel downtown. I don't feel that we should be spending taxpayers' money that way. I think we should just go to the bank like every other businessman and get a loan. The only way to change downtown is to have people live downtown. And that's what you need. You need people to live down there. You need to have more housing or some entrepreneurs to come in and build. Because when people come downtown to live, you're going to have businesses that want to serve them to be there. And that will change all of downtown. The growth, we have growth downtown. Matter of fact, there are businesses that come there. I mean, we got Life of Pi that came there. We got a cupcake place that's right there. We got Ride a Bike that came from Lincolnton. You're starting to see a revitalization. You don't need an ombudsman, someone who's going to tell everybody, you got to put this there, you got to put that there. Let capitalism and let your own business to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Yeah, to be honest with you, there's no correct answer for this yet. Nobody up here knows because we would have already done it. The problem is if something's not working for over the last 15 or so years, let's just look at it at a different direction. I really don't know, but a real good idea, I think, would even to get a task group up, which I know for a fact they have actually sent people to some of the more prosperous small towns and found out, what worked for them. Well, what they need to do is get a task group and don't go to the businesses and stuff down like Greenville, Belmont stuff. Go talk to the people and ask the people, what brings you downtown?
Thank you. Mr. Ware?
How would I revitalize downtown Gaston?
What new ideas?
What new ideas? Well, get the government out of it. That's the easiest thing you can do, because if the private sector doesn't come in and thrive on its own without a government prop, then it's set to fail from the get-go. So you have to allow small businesses to come in on their own. And the other thing is, the current council allowed for a gentleman to abandon his commitment to Nick's Steakhouse without prosecuting him and getting the money that the city gave him back. So it was like we just threw that money in the trash can. So we cannot allow for that to happen ever again. So we have to get the government out of downtown.
Thank you. Dr. Akers?
If we walked over to Main Street right now, there might be 3 or 4 people out on the street, maybe fewer. I would ask Don about this railroad track. Where are we going to take it? Where is it going to be moved to? I'd like to hear that. But the first thing we need downtown now, not a boutique hotel, not Arts on Main necessarily or whatever. The first thing we need in downtown Gastonia now on the northwest side is a good grocery store. A good grocery store that if the city had to help it get started, that would be fine. But there's a whole section of town that cannot walk to a grocery store. That would be the first thing to get people downtown, I think. That's way above the rest of it. Grocery store, northwest, Gastonia.
Thank you. Ms. Price?
Well, I think that if we will make the conference center more user-friendly, that would be a good idea. And if we brought some other businesses downtown that would bring in foot traffic, we need more bakeries downtown. We need actually a place where people could go in and purchase organic food. Places like that bring people down. Maybe, I don't know about the zoning on this, but an animal industry downtown. Something that brings people downtown, that will make people have to come downtown to have that foot traffic, because that's what you need. And then for us to have the people to become owners of the buildings down there, have people in and out, like you said, not paying.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
Already gotten the nod to calm down. I guess they can see it on my face. Y'all are talking about my baby now. 80% of downtown is in my ward, and I've worked hard for 4 years to try to bring that back. And when I say work hard, I'm not talking about trying to dictate what happens downtown. I agree, government should get out, and I've spent 4 years trying to lift ordinances and restrictive things, the red tape that was discussed. We've got some great things happening. We've had more businesses open in the last 2 years than the previous 10. Leave them alone. Let businesses decide what's best for businesses. I will say that we have a municipal service district tax area that's not a tax to the general public. That is a tax that the property owners have agreed to pay to help downtown. I've just announced Maples on Main. It's a complete redo of the aesthetics. Going from Broad to 321, it's going to be beautiful. We've already been written up in the paper and online about it. Downtown is happening. Just let it happen.
Thank you. Mr. Halloran?
Thank you. Many of you, all of you, have certainly been downtown. We have a very small downtown. It's not big at all. There isn't a lot of room for expansion, is there? You can go up, but not on top of those old buildings. Across this nation, malls are failing. Malls are becoming a thing of the past. I'm not saying attack malls by any means, but we have a mall that will be a thing of the past. We have businesses failing on a monthly basis. It is too expensive by square footage. They're dictated the hours they operate, how many employees they have to have, et cetera, et cetera. There is our customer base. A business whose lease is being overcome. Go talk to those people. We have a place for you downtown. The biggest issue we have in downtown is the owners of the property that won't do anything with it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on to the next question, and it'll start with you, Mr. Burkett, and work the way. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Mr. Humphreys had failed to come back around. I did that before, dude.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I wish somebody yelled at me. Okay. I can put both of those together because they are similar. Would that be all right, you think, time-wise? Let me, I'm terribly sorry. What specific ideas do you have to create more jobs in our city and grow our economy, and what new ideas do you have for downtown? And we'll do, would you think it would be fair to do a full minute on that?
I may not need that long.
I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I knew you'd find me eventually. We got to keep crime low to bring more businesses in. The crime rate is not, it's not skyrocketing anywhere in the city. There's crime everywhere you go. But you got to keep it low to get people to move their business in, to get people to move in. I spoke to Chief Helton recently, and they were really excited about the, I guess you call it a substation they're putting in over at the Loray development. It's the first time the Gastonia Police Department has had a remote location out of the main office, is what he told me. And they're really looking forward to it. They want more. They want several of those throughout the city. You got to let the crooks know, not in my neighborhood before they ever start. The downtown, or not necessarily just downtown, but anywhere, you got to have businesses that have a business plan and the capital to be able to withstand 3 to 5 years from the day they open up and not close up 6 months later. You got to have people that have the capital or the funding or financing to come in and stick out the rough times. Everybody knows you open a brand new restaurant, you're not going to get a seat in there for 6 months. Then all of a sudden, it's empty. They got to be able to go through those empty times, get the business back up, and keep it up. It comes down to the city doesn't need to finance those kind of businesses. I have no problem with the city giving incentives, but wait and do it on the back end, not the front end. If you survive 3 years, you'll get this much of a tax break. 5 years, you get this much. And then it stops. Then you're on your own.
Thank you, and my apologies.
That's fine.
Mr. Mackett here.
Yes, ma'am. Talking about downtown, we have as Mr. Pearsall said, we have a metropolitan service district, and those folks vote 20% extra tax on this, or 20% total tax. And that money is partially used to pay for the conference center, about $65,000, $75,000 of that. Plus, there are incentives to small businesses that come in downtown. They want to upfit the inside, and they want an outside facade. And the committee, Ms. Craig and Mr. Pearsall have, and I think Mr. Kimball, they have these people come before them and ask for monies, and we try to give them incentives to come to Gastonia. And you're right, they need to be properly capitalized. We've done that. The restaurant Lily's, the Web Theater, where Mr. Morasso from Epic Chop House up in Mooresville is coming here. He's putting $350,000 of his money in that building. And somebody said something about Nick's. Well, the city made money on that. When he walked out on his loan, we had all that money accumulated, several $100,000 the city had ahead on Raybell. Now we're getting property tax, we're getting water and sewer revenues, we're getting electric revenues, and actually the total amount of money, we're making money, even though we're in the county and us are leasing 20,000 square feet each, and we can, with that cost of $130,000, we're still making more money on things like that. Now, the lawyer's bill, we weren't getting any tax on that hardly. So, and the incentive we have on that, all the taxes that he generates, we're going to give it back to him over a period of time each year. So we aren't spending any new city money, and the conference center needs a small hotel, and that's going to help the conference center. So there's a lot more to say about that. But we don't have
Thank
time.
you. Now I'm back on track. Mr. Burkett, you'll start this next one. Okay. Much attention has been given to the fact that many of our emergency workers do not feel they are paid adequately and are leaving to find work in Charlotte. What do you feel is a sufficient salary given their pension plan, and how would you fund any increase in wages or benefits? Mr. Burkett, we'll start with you.
Do they get 2 minutes or 1 minute?
This is
back to 1 minute. He just got to.
I just messed up on one question.
Okay.
We had, when we took office some 6 years ago, we established a pay plan for public safety. It was different than the rest of the city, which the turnover at that time, it was a step plan, and the turnover at that time for the police department was extremely high. The fire department was extremely high. That particular year, it was 40 firemen that applied for Charlotte. The police department, it was just extreme turnover. We did the plan for about 2.5, 3 years, and then the economic times of 8, 9, right in that area, we was able to back off of it, or had to back off of it. But paying a fair wage to an employee for doing a good job, you cut the turnover out. And that's the best thing for the citizens, is to have those employees in those jobs that have consistency, and they know the community. Time's up. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Grant?
Let me preface this by saying I spent 24 years as a volunteer in the EMS field. A police officer or firefighter goes in on his job, he stands a good chance he may not go back home that night to see his family. He's working nights, he's missing time away from his family and his children, they're missing time away on the weekend and on the holidays. You don't pay these guys and somebody else comes along and says, hey, you know what, we'll give you twice what you're making. They're not going to stay. You know, there's been such a reduction in the police department here lately. I think there were 4 officers that left this past month. There was 1 that left yesterday. There's some things going on. If you don't pay these folks, you're not going to get them. But the problem is, if you've got 2 people that's got 20 years experience and they leave, you just lost 40 years experience out the door. You can hire 2 more people to come back in there, but how long is it going to take to get 40 cumulative years of experience? You need to pay your fire and the police.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
Just want to say first, Mr. Burkett, Don, and Billy, thank you for your service to the city and to the citizens for your public service. Appreciate it a whole bunch. With public safety and all, it was, just recently, just a real big issue. The step plan does not work. When you have $50,000 in salary and it goes up to $50 million in salary, and it goes up $1 million to $51 million, that's your new basis. And then after that, you have to come up with more tax dollars, because the next year you can have another step plan. It's going to be $52 million. I mean, the step plan is unsustainable. For them to enact that and then suspend it was the smartest thing they ever could do in their entire lives. The other thing is, I work in private business. And in private business, I get assessed each year. Each year, my boss will say, Jim, you deserve a raise. Or, Jim, you don't deserve a raise. Because this, that, and the other thing. It's just not, it should not be just academic. Everyone should be not judged, but everyone should be rated according to their supervisors, and they should have a set amount to get to achieve their goal. That's how I feel.
should be better. I mean, you know, that's just a given, because these guys, these girls, they give up a lot. You know, they risk their lives up. Problem is, a lot of times when we look at their pay, it doesn't help the whole fire department or the whole police department. Fine example is the raise that the police department just got. Some of them was real happy about it, but it only benefited starting pay. There was a lot of guys in there that had 10, 15, 20 years and given 10, 15, 20 years of their life for that department. They didn't get anything. So, you know, if you go to fix it, everybody's got to be fixed.
Thank you. Mr. Ware?
Stole some of my thunder, Billy. Basically, I'm going to echo what Billy said. We have to have senior and veteran officers and firefighters to train our new up-and-coming firefighters and police officers, because if we don't have that experience and those veterans training, then you're going to have things that happened out west and up in Baltimore, where you have rookie officers that are making mistakes that cost millions of dollars in lives. So we have to have that proper training to do that, which we do have a well-trained police force, but we also need the mentorship. And the other part of the question was, how will we sustain the increase, I believe?
That's correct. How would you fund an increase in wages or benefits?
In one way would be, currently the city's leaking or bleeding $750,000 through our contract with Republic, which is our recycling contract. And it is up during the next term, so if we were to either renegotiate or not renew that contract, that's $750,000 we can put towards our public safety salaries. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Akers?
I can't speak to the details like some of these men here have, but I did run a small business and still run it, and we've had people who work for us and work for me leave for various reasons over the years, and most of the time it was not what we were paying them, it was other things. I want to know what other fire departments and police departments in this area are paying, and we should be competitive with that. But when you talk about policemen leaving like you are now, it makes me wonder if maybe there's something else going on in the police department, and it's not just pay.
Thank you. Ms. Briggs?
Well, I had often wondered about the job of the police and firefighters until I went into the police academy. I was there for 11 weeks, and I had a chance to be with these police officers and to see what they do, how they have to handle different matters and everything. I even went along for the police ride, and this gets kind of complicated. I think we should pay our public service. I said one thing we need to do, because Gaston, you used to have junior police academy, that we need to reignite that. Then we need to create a junior firefighters academy so that these people can learn and find out what takes place. Because if we train them when they're small, when they get to be adults, then they can understand the job. But they need to be paid for the services they give.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
Thank you. If you come live in my neighborhood, you will come to understand and appreciate what our public safety officers do. And that's probably the best way to appreciate it if you're not one. I hear sirens nightly. I've seen shootings, the whole 9 yards. And in my opinion, you can't pay public safety enough. I mean, I would pay them top dollar if I could. But that's the dream. People have mentioned the police department. The city can't compete with Wells Fargo and Duke Power when they come knock on our door and say, we want to hire 70-year officers. We're going to start them at $75,000 a year. We can't compete with that. We are going to lose people. But what we've done now, and it's just as Dr. Akers said, we've started a new approach where we do a market study. Are we keeping up with other municipalities our size? The answer was no. So we've raised the police. We're now doing a market study on the fire department and solid waste and so forth, and we'll continue to do that. It's a good plan. I like it, but we can never pay them enough. That's just the reality.
Thank you. Mr. Howland?
Thank you. I don't know if there's an immediate answer. It has been an ongoing reoccurrence, if you will. of these issues, but it's all tied to the economy. I mean, everything is increasing. Their livelihood and their income is not increasing with what is necessary to sustain yourself in society today. But it is not just, from a city standpoint, our police and our public safety, police and fire. It is all of our employees. They are the biggest budget item that we have, the biggest concern that a council has when they're trying to balance the budget every year. So all of them have to be taken into consideration. It is not an easy task, and I'm not saying that I have a solution, but collectively it can be done. But we have to sustain it. You have to put a plan together that is sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Humphreys.
Remember, these are the guys that run into the fire and into the line of fire because they like it. It's their job. I don't know how to fix it personally as a individual person. It's going to take more than one person to fix it. It may take more than one council to fix it. But I can tell you that for the fire department and the police department, there needs to be a structure to where the most experienced and the most awarded are the highest paid. And it works down from there. If you have a fireman that has 3 awards for valor, he saved 6 lives in his career, he better be getting a lot of money if he's still on the truck. If you have a policeman that has been with the department 10 years, has a couple of awards for valor, has a couple of commendations, volunteers, that's the kind of person that needs to be on the upper side of the pay scale. Now, how does that scale slide? I have no idea. It's just something that has to be worked out.
Yes, ma'am. As far as emergency workers are concerned, the police came to us and filled up the courthouse, filled up the room, and talked about some concerns they had. A lot of it was morale problems. And I told those guys, men and women, that I had no clue that there was a morale problem. I know a number of police officers, but none of them had told me that. But the pay needed to be fixed. So the chief of police and his staff had already been doing a study on salaries. And so the manager and the finance staff got together and found $600,000 they could begin a first step to improve those salaries and try to make them more, meet the market value to a certain extent. We're not through doing that. We've got more work to do on that. We're going to do the fire department and other employees. As Todd Pearsall said, we're doing a market study now and have been working on that, looking at all the other communities on solid waste and other police, and looking at other police departments and fire departments and trying to come up with our plan to pay our guys and gals so they won't be leaving us. So, but there's a lot more to this that we don't have time to talk about now.
Mr. Keller.
If you talk to any of our city police or firemen, I think they will tell you that they are in it not necessarily for a paycheck, but because they feel called to do what they're doing. With that said, there is no community, no city that can grow or expand if they are not taking care of their first responders. When we talk about paying our firemen and our police officers a living wage, we need to be paying them a competitive wage. I believe it was Don Grant and some others had also said that you have to take into consideration if one of these individuals leave and they have several years' experience, they're not taking just their family with them, they're taking that experience with them. I realize budgets are complicated, funding is complicated, but when we look at priorities, and when we as city council members look at priorities, when we become a part of the city council, we need to make our officers our top priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question continues on the idea of pay, and we'll begin with Mr. Grant. There has been much debate over taxpayer-funded insurance or a stipend in lieu of insurance for elected officials at both the city and county level. Some former council members not only took insurance or a stipend, but took tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars and back pay for all their previous years of service.
After much criticism about the insurance issue, the last council voted to give the council members a $400 per month increase in their pay instead of insurance. For those of you who have served on the council, did you take the insurance or monies in lieu of the insurance? If you have not served, would you take the insurance or monies in lieu of insurance? Should taxpayers pay for elected representatives' insurance?
That's a long question.
Yes, that's why I suggested everyone have a pen and
Well,
paper.
first of all, I've never been on the council. I'm trying to change that now. Would I take that part? No. But I got the figures from the city manager yesterday, and he told me what the salary breakdown was. Salary breakdown is $800 per month for the council member, $350 per month for the expenses, the insurance stipend, which is $4 something. But I got another question. That comes up to $18,000 a year. But not only are people taking the insurance, Mr. Gallagher serves on the electricities. And I understand they pay part of those people. You go to one meeting a month and you get $1,000 per meeting. So that's $12,000 per year. That money goes in Mr. Gallagher's pocket. I think that should go back to the city. I think that should be part of your service because half of electricities gets paid, the other half doesn't. That's your question? But no, I wouldn't take the insurance.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that being on the city council should be there to line your pockets. I think you need to be there to serve the people.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
One, I am on the city council, and I don't take any city insurance at all. I'm with Wells Fargo, and I've had Wells Fargo insurance from the beginning, from the get-go. With electricities, it takes 2 days. If the meetings are up in Raleigh, I got to leave out on a Thursday. I have to get up there, and I come back late Friday night. So it's a 2-day deal. Plus, there's other meetings in between that they have that you have to be called for. The $1,000 is the gross amount. The government takes at least 30% of that easy. Yeah, there's some money involved with it. It's a big organization. I was able to get refinancing of debt that Electricities has, and allows us to not have a rate increase in wholesale for 6 years, providing there's no, we don't have a turbine that breaks down at the top of the plant. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not just my city council time, it's also that. So there's a lot of numbers and figures, and the cost is justified. And no, I don't take insurance.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Well, I totally agree with Donnie. There's just absolutely no reason to. I would not take it. And for a simple fact, a lot of the part-time workers that work for the city, they don't get off their insurance. So my answer is no.
Thank you. Mr. Ware?
Having been a former part-time employee for the city, I was unable to get insurance through the city. And as a city council, you are a part-time employee, so you should not get insurance. Many of you probably remember back in the spring, I led a protest against the county commissioners who tried to give themselves insurance for life or until they reach Medicaid age. So my track record is pretty strong on that one. I don't think that if you're a part-time employee, as a councilman, you shouldn't take the money for the insurance. Only way I would even touch that would be if I could take that $404 put into the community foundation and try to give it back to the community.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Akers?
I was surprised to hear about this, actually. No, I would not take the insurance. Most of you looked at the curriculum PT, you might say, and know that I'm old enough to be on Medicare, so I've got my insurance taken care of. I am on a committee. I'm on a council in Raleigh myself. It's called the State Healthcare Coordinating Council. We meet a few times a year, and we decide whether hospitals and emergency rooms and rest homes are going to get a certificate of need so that they can build more or put in more beds or whatever. And I've been doing this a couple of years, and all I get paid for doing that is my mileage, and I'm happy with that.
Thank you. Ms. Bray?
I would not take it. I know that this is double dipping, dipping, so I would not do it. I wouldn't take it if it's costing the city. So I would not.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
Yes, I'm a little confused about the question because Mr. Grant said he met with the city manager and told him what the breakdown was, but I can tell you I do get a pay stub from the city, and it's just got one total. It doesn't say what anything's for, so if I'm taking a stipend, I don't know it because it's not broken down. It's just one total, so I guess the answer to the question is no, because I don't, but I don't know. I'd have to find out what they exactly say they're paying me for, because it's just one total on there. And that was done by the previous council. They changed everything, which for the good or for the better, I don't know. When I was elected, I was told you'll be paid this much. It's not much. You do as much as I do with the council, it'll barely cover your expenses. But it's just one total that I get, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Howard?
Thank you. Taxes pay for all city jobs. That goes to the budget, general fund, and all city jobs. If that stipend is there and someone wishes to take it, they're actually reimbursing. It is deducted somewhere in that check, and you are paying back for that insurance. I will not take the insurance if I'm elected again. I don't need the insurance. Like the good doctor said, the government is now helping to take care of me and whatever supplements I buy for my wife and I. So I will not take it.
Thank you. Mr. Humphrey?
No, I wouldn't have a need for it.
No, I don't take any insurance, and I think council members they're not employees, they're elected officials, and you're not there to benefit yourself personally, but you're there to serve the public. And when they first showed us what our money was going to be, I called up town ads. I said, what is the breakdown on this money? He said, well, $800, $350 for expenses, $800 for salary. Okay, that's what it was when I was mayor. I think the mayor got $100 more. Then there was this $430 a month.
$432.50.
How much?
$432.
Yeah, I thought it was around $430 that you could get if you wanted. I said, wait a minute, Mr. Wood, what's the history of that? So he told me that there had been something the previous council had just turned into part of the salary, which nobody knew about. And I said, no, I won't take that. So I didn't take that. The only thing I take is the $800 plus the $350 that they've been paying over all the years. The take-home amount is $674.02, and I give most of that away, buying tickets and donating it. So no, I don't take it.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
Let me just say this right off the bat. No other issue gets under my skin like this one. There is not a single elected official that deserves to have anything above and beyond what city or county workers have. I am sick of the county commissioners thinking that they deserve something special. I am tired of city elected officials thinking they deserve something special. We are elected, if we have that blessing, not to have something better or greater than our city or county employees, but to work for them. There is not a single issue that just makes me want to scream louder than that issue. I have worked in the past against this. I have worked in the present. I will work in the future. I will reach my hand out to any single person that's here and say we will work on this issue because it is disgusting and it is the fleecing of the taxpayers of the city and the county. Any former city employee or council member or any future one that takes it ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Burkett?
Well, Davey was almost pointing his finger at me. I'm getting them pointed both ways. I really appreciate him, but yeah. What we did when we was on the council, and he keeps referring back, because it actually goes back before I was on the council. I did take it, and I'm going to explain briefly. I was a chief, the most senior person on the fire department, and I was a chief, and all other chiefs made more money than myself. When I went on the council, there was an amount of money to be given for the jobs. And it come up to whatever it was, 16, 17, 18,000. And it was distributed out. And I took it. And not ashamed of it. I don't need it. And this time, going around, I'm fortunate. I don't even need the money to serve the council. But I did take it. But I do wish there was a buzzer in here in everybody's butt on the chair that when they told a lie, it would
light them up a little bit, because the truth is not being told. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
It started 7104. That was before you were on there. It started at, this is I got this from Human Resources, County Manager's Office. So the actual insurance goes back to 7104. And then it changed to that 432 and 11 right before at the last election. If anybody is interested, this came straight from City Hall. This is the facts and figures of who took what, if they took the insurance, if they didn't take the insurance, if they paid for it themselves, if the city paid for it, if they took a stipend in lieu of the insurance, all of it's right here. So you can determine for yourself who needs a bus in their seat or whatever. It's right here. I'll just take a look at this other stuff.
I believe that completed that question, so we'll move on to the next one. I think I managed to get all the way around there. We started with Mr. Grant, sorry. Mr. Gallagher, we'll start this next question with you. It's rather long, so you all might want to kind of keep an ear open for the details of it. City council members are often appointed to various unelected positions, such as the Electricities Co-op, Central Line Council of Governments, and many other boards. These boards have a great deal of power over government policies and large sums of grant money paid by taxpayers and nonprofits. The board appointees are supposed to represent the public interest. However, their decisions are guided by bureaucratic staff planners who become lobbyists, and most often the sums of money and the policies are unknown to the public. As a council member, what would you do to make these policies and grants more transparent to the public before voting on them? How can you represent the public about these decisions when the public has no idea what policies and grants are being considered? And do you think that council members should receive payment for attending these board meetings? We'll begin with Mr. Gallagher.
I serve on Electricity's Board of Directors, and it's up in Raleigh, and City Council nominated me to do that. Government policies, there's really not much leverage. Electricities, it's a municipal entity unto itself. There's 32 32 towns that we represent. We don't have any impact in government policy or grants or anything of that nature. But what we do have is maintaining what the costs are that are coming out of the Catawba nuclear site. And that's how we get our rates here. One of the things that I was able to institute is to restructure the debt we have. And the debt is huge. We restructured it until 2029. That allowed us for 6 years not to have any electric rate increases at all. We didn't have any electric rate increase this year. And you shouldn't have any next year unless, like I said, if there's a turbine or something that goes down in Catawba, you will hear about it because it'll be in the paper. It'll be big news.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Well, to be honest with you, I think if it involves our residents, it ought to be transparent. We ought to know ahead of time. As far as a reimbursement pay type, if it's basically just paid for reimbursement, whatever it costs, for the expenses. But as far as they pay, I don't think it should be.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ware?
With the first part of the question with grants and how to make it transparent, I would actually have to take our delegation from the city to the state and ask for an open checkbook, as it may be, with the grants to show where every dollar that comes out of, say, the MPO or any of these other regional boards, to show exactly where it goes, what it's being used for, and things of that nature. The next part is how to inform the public about these meetings and what they're doing in policies. If any one of our city elected officials is attending a meeting, then we should have some type of, like what we have with the Sunshine List, that if they're going to this meeting, we should be able to send out to whoever wants to get that information, that this is what we're meeting about, this is what's on the agenda, and that way they can get to their representatives that's going to be on that board and let them know what their opinions are. And as far as the reimbursement pay, I'm in business in retail. If I have to travel somewhere, I have to fill out an expense report. And that's the only thing you get reimbursed is your expenses. So should we get paid like $1,000 for electricity? No. I mean, drive to Raleigh and back, that's maybe $50 in gas. So.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Akers.
Well, I've been on a good number of boards over the years, and I've known that what you have to look for and what you really have to watch out for is the staff. And the staff there can be kind of like the staff down here at City Hall. If you don't have the time or interest, they know a lot more than you do, and you have to ask the right questions. You have to ask the right questions. But if I get elected to City Council, I think that's going to be enough of a job for me. I'm going to really put my effort into doing my job there and listening to the people and trying to help change some of these things I'd like to change. And I'm not really very interested in being on any boards and going to Raleigh for City Council board meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Rice.
Well, I am thinking about a grace period to notify the people about what's taking place. You know, okay, if a request has been given out, then the people deserve to know what's going on. So, you know, no type of arrangements will be made until we have this grace period. And that, you know, we had a grace period in place. And another thing, too, is I believe that we should go back to old-fashioned town hall meetings so that everybody can know what's going on. That's how I feel about it. So I'm just putting that out there.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson.
Well, this is probably a good question for me because I probably serve on more committees than anybody else. But just this past year, I was honored to be elected to the chairman position of the MPO. If you want to talk about committees and boards, that probably has the largest budget of any of them. Our budget reaches into the billions. That's a B, not an M. We decide all of the infrastructure and road projects that are going on in Gaston, Cleveland, and Lincoln County. And it's true, staff knows way more than you do. They do this every day. And if you don't stay on top of it, they'll push their agenda right through. I'm glad someone mentioned the sunshine list, and I actually have index cards over there. And at each of these meetings, I ask if you are on the sunshine list, and if not, please write down your name and either your email address or your physical address. You will get the agendas of these meetings prior to the meetings, and that is the best way I know of to keep these people informed. I know, like, the passes have been to some of the MPO meetings. I like it when the citizens are there. I like it when the citizens contact me beforehand. That's the best way to get the information on how your community wants to spend these dollars.
Thank you.
Get an index card and fill it out for me.
Thank you. Mr. Halloran.
Thank you. Grants and transparency, it goes back to what I said a while ago. If you're not involved, you don't know what's going on, therefore you cannot ask the right questions and you cannot hold them accountable to their transparency. All meetings are public records, meetings that we attend. All the committees are public records. They have minutes that are published. All meetings are attendable by the public. So I don't know how much more transparent you can get than that. It is wide open. The issue is the public doesn't attend. There aren't that many that are truly interested in the details. So I guess we are assigned a job. You cannot know everything. There isn't a man that runs a business that knows everything about his business. He hires people to do certain jobs. He doesn't micromanage them. He lets them do that and report to him. That's exactly what we do in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Humphreys.
The way I feel is if a council member is part of an outside entity as part of his job as a council member or her job, then there should be no additional pay other than, like I say, maybe gas money if you have to travel out of town, or a motel room if you're staying overnight. But it would have to be a really serious meeting to stay overnight. As far as transparency, and a lot of folks talking about, the staff having their own agenda to try to push through. I'm not going to vote on anything that I haven't done my own research on. It's just not going to happen. I trust people until they prove themselves non-trustworthy. But at the same time, I also trust myself to do my own research and ask my own questions. And when I'm satisfied, I've got both sides of the story, then I'll make a decision.
Thank you.
I agree with that. I do the same thing. But I'm not on any boards. I just serve on the council. But I did serve on the ABC board 3 years. And Dan Gunner was the chairman of it back in 95 through 98. And they were given $100, $100 bill each time. Well, we cut that out after the first meeting. So we don't need the money. We're not out here to serve for that. But this ABC board, Mr. Howard's chairman of it, was making $100, and they wanted to increase that to $200. And it was going to be on our agenda. Then they found out, the new manager found out that if it just went to $200, they wouldn't have to come before the city council. And they did, and they raised their pay to $200. I know Mr. Howard, and I heard about this several years ago, went to Greensboro to a meeting when he was on the ABC board. He came back with some ideas that some of the other boards were doing, and they were paying more money, kind of salaries. They wanted to get a chairman several $1,000s and a treasurer. He was a treasurer at that time. They wanted to pay the treasurer so much and the regular members so much. But the ABC board thought that might not be such a good idea. But he did bring that back from Greensboro.
Thank you, Mr. Kellogg.
Just a couple of points here. I do believe that expenses, traveling expenses, lodging if you have to stay overnight, those things should be reimbursed. But I think it points to a fundamental problem that we have in our system today. And that is that people run for elected position, not always just because they want to serve, but because they know that they can get perks out of it. And I'm not attacking anybody here. I don't think that's what Jim is doing at all. And please, Jim, I'm not directing this towards you. There is a fundamental problem in our system when we elect politicians and they end up getting more money from their position because of what they're doing. I don't understand it. I'm the chairman of the board of the Gaston County Democrats. Thousands of Democrats under my supervision and leadership. I don't get paid. I don't want to get paid. Nobody that is in that position or serving on a board should get paid unless that is their sole job. And when you're an elected official, you should be doing it as a civil service instead of something that you're going to get out of it.
Mr. Burkett?
Something that was said earlier as far as transparency. It's almost sad from the transparency standpoint is who all is putting out the information. And there should be 500 people here today because these things are important for who y'all decide to run the city for the next period of time. But sadly, at council meetings in the past and in the future, I think he was talking about the MPO meeting earlier, there's so many decisions made and sometimes there's 3 or 4 or 5 people. And you continue to see the same people over and over. So that part's just extremely sad. On the reimbursement, something that was said earlier is the electric cities, someone does make $1,000 to go to the meetings, but saying that they don't do grants, there's grants everywhere that come out for electric cities. And the staff does them, then those on the board, they have involvement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grant.
I can't help but wonder why half of electric cities gets paid on the western side and the eastern side of the state doesn't. But
That's not true. They do.
Well, now that's not what Ed Munn told me yesterday. The information I got came from Ed Munn, the city manager, yesterday.
Okay.
As far as the breakdown.
Everybody on the city board,
Jim, you had
county
your turn.
board does.
You had your turn.
Yeah, we're trying to just address the audience and not each other.
But if somebody wants to see the breakdown, I have the email. I'll be glad to share it with you. If you disagree with it, see the city manager. He's the one who provided it. How to make it transparent? Put it online. Let it be out there so anybody at any time can go in there and look at the budget and look at the expenses. This is an issue that will need to be resolved later on. But if you're going to be a city servant, then serve the city and don't line your pockets with the money. Give the money back to the Good Neighbor program, to where somebody that can't afford to pay their light bill or water bill can have some relief.
Thank you. We've got time for one more question, I believe. And Mr. Phillips, we're going to start with you. Many local projects have been promoted with the idea that they will be significantly funded by federal or state grants. Often the attitude is, if we don't take the money, someone else will. Should this funding be such a determining factor in taking on projects that almost always have strings attached and leave taxpayers footing the bill?
No, definitely not. Now granted, sometimes it's needed. The problem is government should not get involved if it's a business or corporation out to get a grant through the city. It should not involve any taxpayer dollars at all.
Thank you, Mr. Ware.
That's pretty much a simple answer, no. The city and the government shouldn't be in the real estate business anyway. So, there you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Would you mind for this Medicare man here
I would
repeating
be
that
happy
question?
to. I would be happy to. The gentleman ahead of you saved us some time, so we're good. Many local projects have been promoted with the idea that they will be significantly funded by federal or state grants. Often the attitude is, if we don't take the money, someone else will. Should this funding be such a determining factor in taking on projects that almost always have strings attached and leave taxpayers footing the bill?
Well, the answer to that, of course, is no. Getting back to the question, asking the right questions, reminded me of a story I heard just the other day about this young couple who went into an apartment and they wanted to redo some things and they wanted to wallpaper their dining room. And there was a neighbor who had a dining room exactly the same size. So they went over and asked him, he said, how many rolls of wallpaper did you buy to do your dining room? And he said 7. So they went back and they papered and papered, and when they had finished 4, they were completely papered and they had the other 3 left. And they went back and said, but, he said, same thing happened to me.
You got that one. You're finished. We'll move on to Ms. Bruns. Thank you. Would you like me to read the question?
No, wait, yeah.
I would be happy to read it again. Many local projects have been promoted with the idea that they will be significantly funded by federal or state grants. Often the attitude is, if we don't take the money, someone else will. Should this funding be such a determining factor in taking on projects that almost always have strings attached and leave taxpayers footing the bill?
Well, one thing for sure, we have plenty of examples of that in Gastonia, and I would say no. We have quite a few projects that have been presented to us, and the taxpayers have been left handling the residue. So I would say no.
Thank you. Mr. Pearsall.
For me, this is a two-part question. The first part is no. I don't like all these grants and subsidies that are given down from the state and federal level. I don't like them. I wish they would stop. The second part of the question is yes. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a good example. On the MPO, we're given state and federal monies. We get an overall budget, and within that budget, we get a breakdown. We're allowed to spend so much on roads, so much on sidewalks and greenways, so much on transportation like airports, things like that. We can't move money from fund to fund to fund. There's 3 counties involved. The last 2 years, the money for the transportation like airports, bus terminals, things like that, has all been taken by Cleveland County. Shelby almost has a brand new airport. And the whole reason was Gaston and Lincoln didn't step forward to take it. So yes, when you say, if I don't take it, somebody else will, it's true. Somebody else will. And now Shelby's airport is better than ours, and we're losing business to them. So yes, if it's there, you've got to take it.
Thank you. Mr. Henry.
The short answer is no. But I'd like to take part of my time and go back and straighten out some statistics that were given just a moment ago. Being chairman of the ABC board, all members of the ABC board make $150 a month. Some of them net $1 a month. The acumen of those gentlemen yield the city a minimum of $400,000 a year. And this year, we gave them an additional $225,000. No effort on the city's part. I think that's a heck of a return on your investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Young, please.
I hate to ask you to read that again, but would you please?
And
And I'm not quite, no, never mind.
you all forgave me, so, I'm fine. Many local projects have been promoted with the idea that they will be significantly funded by federal or state grants. Often the attitude is, if we don't take the money, someone else will. Should this funding be such a determining factor in taking on projects that almost always have strings attached and leave taxpayers footing the bill?
Well, anytime you're dealing with money from the government, there's going to be strings attached. We can't just say a blanket no, because a lot of the money that's available in grants or loans or whatever the terminology is used for it, really will and has come in handy. It's really helped a lot. But at the same time, you got to be smart about it. You got to know what those strings are, and if it makes good sense, business sense, because you got to remember that the city has to be run like a business. It is a business. It has to make good business sense. Now, on the other side of it, the city should not be granting money to private investors. I honestly don't believe that. If an investor is wanting to build a business and there are funds available through grants or low interest loans or whatever, he's more than welcome to fill out the paperwork and get it himself.
Thank you. Mr. McAfee.
No, but I agree with what David said. I think I would just echo what he said. I couldn't answer my question any better than what he said.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Kellogg.
That's true.
I think we have to play the cards we're dealt. I mean, we may not like it. We may hold our nose and think it's stinky. But what's the alternative? Do we say no to any kind of grant, any kind of incentive, and let our neighbors get the jobs, let our neighbors get the infrastructure? I think it's crabby. I think it should be changed. But that's something that we need to address on a state level and a national level. Here on the city level, if elected to city council, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we get our fair share, to make sure that Gastonia is not left in the dust. If that means taking some sort of incentive or grant that's offered and it appears that the bang is worth it, if it appears that the investment will be worth it, then yes, I will do that. And I think it's foolish not to.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burkett.
I've got, again, it's a two-part question. No, we should not take it, all the strings attached, take it just to take it. But one of the prime examples is, this is our tax dollars that left here. We're trying to obtain some of it back. What I just despise of our county government, our state government, we have not widened Interstate 85. We could get 90% federal funded. Between the state and county, we would only have to come up with about 5%. The combination of these things is just outrageous. And then the most recent, which is part of this council, but it's a decision they made, is when we was able to have a train center city area for train station, bus station, whatever, it was like $13 million. When I talked to Lewis at Tony's Ice Cream, you sit there and think it was only going to cost the city $1.2 million, and previous council had already put $750,000 there. But you got to evaluate those projects, and if it fits and it benefits you, you need to take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Well, you hear this term associated with grants about other people's money. It's not other people's money. It's our money. And as David said down here about having business sense, my dad had a saying in our business: please pay us so we can pay them, so they can pay you, so you can pay us, so we can pay them. And you see, it goes around in a circle, so it's not other people's money. It's our money too, and it keeps swapping around. Now, when it comes down to grants, federal grants cost you taxpayers' dollars. State grants are taxpayers' dollars. Don grant is the only grant that's not going to cost you taxpayers' dollars.
Grants. against the train station downtown. Hopefully, we would get light rail to come in. That's millions of dollars, and that's not coming anytime soon. To build a transit center downtown, we already have one. It's called Bradley Center. I mean, that's where the buses go, and it works. I take the bus every day going into Charlotte, and it's a fine station. To spend $1.2 million of taxpayer monies is unacceptable. Strings attached to these things, but you know, when you do hear of something like a road that's going to be built, and they're saying to you that it's only going to cost you 5%, and the state's going to pay this, and the federal government's going to pay that, it's hard to say no when it's going to benefit the community itself. So it's a really tough question to say one way or another, yes or no. Thank you.
Thank you. Or is it a 30-second close?
1 minute.
1 minute close? We have enough time?
We've got just enough time for them to have 1 minute.
Okay. Mr. Ware, we'll start with you for a 1 minute closing.
Sit back here so I'll yell back here and sing too. Again, my name is Daniel Ware. I'm running for Ward 2. Just something fun to think about. The last time we had a new face in Ward 2, I was about this high in the third grade. So it's been nearly 2 decades since we've had a fresh face and new ideas in Ward 2. We have to have better public safety, well-paid public safety. We have to improve our neighborhood roads because that is our veins to our body of our city. And if we don't have good veins, how can you pump the blood to our city? And we also have to, at the same time, while improving our roads and paying our public safety, we also have to look at ways to lower our tax rate so we can be more inviting to families and businesses to come in. And that's what you get with me. So remember, Daniel Ware, Ward 2.
Thank you, Dr. Akers.
Once again, we need to be really friendly to new quality business and industry. We need to improve downtown, of course. We need a grocery store in the northwestern part of our downtown. And one thing I didn't mention yet, but I think it would improve the lives of all of us, would be if we get rid of Time Warner and get a decent cable company.
Thank you, Ms. Bright.
My name is Paulette Jackson, and I am running for the mayor. And I would like to say that I am interested in building lives. That is what my chief overall platform is to be alive. Because if you build lives, the lives will build buildings. So if we begin to start handling children and to be sure about the welfare of the ones that's coming along behind us, I'm talking about the ones that are infants and toddlers and the middle age, start investing in programs for the children, because we realize those are the ones that are our future adults, the children. So my heart is toward people. I pastor a church. I've been pastoring a church for about 35 years now, and I handle people. So we have to put our investment in people, and if something is wrong, it's the heart of a person. So my platform is to handle the people and to be alive. So if you vote for me and let me be your mayor, I will be a servant mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you again for having us tonight. I certainly appreciate being here. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I agree with every one of you on every single issue. That would be unrealistic. I do know that I do have an opponent in Ward 4 this year. He's a lot more liberal than me, so I think I'm more appealing to this group than he is. But having said that, if you have any questions about any of the issues, we only have 1 minute here and there to discuss them, please feel free to call me. I'll give you my city business card. It has my cell phone number on it. You can call me directly. And also, please fill out a card if you want to be on the sunshine list, because we do want you to be informed. I want you to know what's going on. I want you to be involved. I want you to come to the meeting. And this is a good start. So thank you for having us, and I appreciate it.
Thank you again to ditto what Todd and others have said. Nothing's going to happen in this community if we don't have your involvement, because you are going to elect each of us to each of the ward and a mayor, and we answer to you. How are we going to increase revenue in this city, how are we going to increase our tax base? By people jobs, not manufacturing jobs. One machine in manufacturing today, particularly in the electronics field, takes 30 people's jobs away. Robots take people's jobs away. Yes, they're necessary, but we need people jobs. We need companies that will come in here that have a widget. It may be made somewhere else, but all of the vertical infrastructure comes from the ground up, the ownership, marketing, sales, finance, distribution, warehousing, that can all be done here. And we have the ground and turf to do that. Pacer Mountain. Let's develop that place and make it into something worthwhile for us that gives us a future.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Thank y'all for having us. I hope it's been as fun for y'all as it has for us. We love answering questions. It's kind of new to me, but I don't mind it. I've got a Facebook page, Humphreys for Council. Take a look at it. It's got a lot of info on it. My questionnaire that I filled out for the Tea Party, it's online. I checked today to make sure it's there. My answers are there. You may not agree with all of them. You may. Remember, the city, like I said a while ago, is a business. The city council is running the business along with the mayor and the city manager. A lot of what the city council does, they spend money. They have to keep the business going. There's one thing the city council does, doesn't cost a penny. And that's what y'all been doing, listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Thanks again to the Tea Party for having this forum. I, too, have a questionnaire that we did for the Tea Party, and it's on their website. You can see what my opinions are and what my answers are to the questions. I enjoyed coming to this. Some of the questions are tough. They catch you off guard. If I could sit down and just think about them a little bit. I like to think about things before I come out with answers. All of y'all have a tough decision on who to vote for, and I appreciate that. And I'm one of you. I'm going to have to vote for these council candidates. And I pretty much knew who I'm going to vote for, of course, already. But I just want to thank you again for coming out and listening to us. Appreciate that.
I'm going to actually read this because I get off script a lot. But, my name is Robert Kellogg, and I am running for city councilman in Ward 1. And I am running to be your councilman because we need bold leadership. We need a leader who understands that customer service is more than a smile and a handshake, and is being a man or a woman of integrity and keeping your word. I am not afraid to take on the political machine. In fact, when several former city council members had taken stipends in lieu of insurance, I stood up and formed a rally outside of City Hall, spoke out against it, and let it be known that it was wrong for the taxpayers of Gastonia. When county commissioners voted to allow themselves a taxpayer's rebate for adoption and insurance for life, I stood up and said no way. In fact, many of you in this room gathered together to say the same thing. If elected, I will fight for working families and small business. I will advocate for the creation of a small business ombudsman to work with City Hall to expedite and streamline the business process in Gastonia. I will stand with our city police and firefighters and advocate a fair wage that keeps our most senior first responders here in Gastonia. I will also work to get more citizens involved in the democratic process. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lincoln.
Like I told you earlier, I served many years, whether I was fire, military, or on the council. I enjoy it. I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people call me at home, or I go to their houses and talk to them. I just want to serve again. Hopefully you as a group and the citizens will choose, whether or not it's myself or others, choose those that will move Gastonia along, and then hold them accountable. Because if you do not, you're going to have the same thing we've been doing for 40 and 50 years. And if you look around, I think that's one of the sad parts of Gastonia, Gaston County, is there has not been somebody in a group that says, we're going to do this, and it's going to go forward, or this interstate, or those things that they're passionate about that grows. And I like to be back in that seat to attempt to try to do those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for enduring what we've been putting you through here for the last couple of hours. Thank you to the Tea Party for letting us be here, and I want to thank all the candidates for coming out, because I know what it's like to be up here. It's not real easy sometimes. You've got to have pretty thick skin. One thing, though, I want to address that I didn't get to finish a while ago. Dick asked, where would I route the railroad tracks? If I routed the railroad tracks out of Gastonia, I would come out of Bessemer City, come along 85, where they're getting ready to widen the lines, and tie them back into East Gastonia. Railroad, the trains don't stop in Gastonia anymore, unless they're letting another train pass. That way we could put the division of the city back together. Now, I want to leave you with a couple of things. I want to thank Jim for his service. I think Jim's a good man, but I want to remind you that 2 years ago, Jim decided he didn't want to be your council member. He wanted to be a county commissioner. That seat will come up again in 2 years, and the mayor's seat will come up. Will he jump again if he gets elected? I don't know. I can tell you, when I'm elected, I will be there the full 4 years unless the good Lord takes me out. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Don. Yes, it is true. I did run for county commission. I ran against a guy that I considered to be a status quo Republican, a Republican that voted for every single tax increase that ever came before him. Yes, I did run for county commission because I wanted a conservative voice on there. And maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't be voting themselves, health care for life. Just maybe. I did miss out on that. But anyway, in my closing remarks, during the last 4 years, I've continued to keep you apprised of issues that I've faced, either by writing letters in the Gaston Gazette or by going door to door in neighborhoods that are directly affected by decisions the City Council would make. I make it a point to hear from you and make myself available every way I can. Not everyone will like where I stand on issues, but you will always know exactly where I stand. I hope I've earned your trust over the past 4 years. I want to continue earning it for the next 4 years. I hope you will support me again this coming November 3rd to be your city councilman for Ward 3. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
I'm going to do like Daniel did, and since I'm last, y'all go ahead and cut that. I just hope I've said something that was pretty positive to some of y'all today. It's been my passion for years and years to serve this community. I love this community, and to be honest with you, and excuse me, that's actually my allergy. But there's no better city council person than a homegrown boy. Be honest with you. And if you vote for me, you'll have free ice cream on Sundays. That's just a joke. That's just a joke. But I appreciate you both.
One quick announcement. First of all, to thank these gentlemen for coming, and lady for coming out tonight once more. And from listening to all they've said to me through emails or conversations and what they said tonight, I feel all of them are more than welcoming to any questions you have. They did have a short time because we wanted to cover a lot of topics. Follow up with them on questions. Pick somebody that you really like. Work for them. We have voter guides that will be coming out. We have questionnaires online. Lots of information on this table. And we do have a meeting coming up in November after the election. And so we'll be sending out information about our meeting coming up in November. Make sure you're on our contact list if you're not. Again, thank you for coming out. Have safe travel home. Have a good night.